Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, whatever time of day you are listening to this. Welcome to the Joygasmic Life podcast.
Right where you are right in this moment is exactly where you are meant to be. So, wherever that may be, just be.
To be a new you.
Your permission slip to raise your standards and live an even more amazing life. Now, if you're feeling like that's way out of the ball game and you're really suffering with like pain in your body, guilt, shame, anxiety, depression, like these emotions run a lot of people's lives, and that's not by accident. Our culture is set up to keep us in those emotions because it's easier to control people when they're in those emotions. But if you're on an awakening journey and you have recognized that those are there, you have taken the most crucial step to get out of that, which is to become aware that it's actually happening.
It's time to awaken, to bring all the parts of yourself back. Welcome. Explore the joy
to this journey.
Live your life.
Thank you.
You live full out,
Thank
fully
you.
expressed,
Thank you.
fully harnessing
Love you.
the joygasmic potential of your body
Love you.
and yourself.
I love you.
Anything is
Thank
possible.
you.
And especially
I'm
we are here
sorry.
to tell you that
Please
deep
forgive me.
and fulfilling love
I love you.
is possible and is available for you
I'm
when you
sorry.
choose it for yourself.
Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Welcome. We're here today to hear Catherine's orgasmic birth story, and so grateful to have all the ladies in our beautiful moms group here to witness and hear the story. Catherine, you're just telling us about journaling and how you went back and looked at some of the things in your journal. Where do you want to start us off on this odyssey of your birth story?
Well, I have a beautiful entry of a 2 a.m. and my daughter woke me up. As will happen a couple of months, well, actually throughout all the pregnancy, but it seemed to me that I had some wicked dreams looking back through my journals of absolutely earth-shattering breakthroughs that she had to offer me, and just interesting synchronicities of, well, I guess I'll just, absorb this knowledge, read this book, watch this video. And so the journal entries are a combination of what I was, absorbing and pondering, and the breakthroughs that I was having leading up to the moment that I gave birth to my daughter. Her name is Dulcie, and she was born June 26th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. So even on the video, my mom says, "What time do you want to say she was born?" And I was like, I don't want to be the one to say. I want to know what time she was born. So it was so funny because it was right there on the edge. Is she the 26th or the 27th? But we were able to watch from the video and determine that. So let me take you back to 2:15 a.m. My goddess daughter has a lesson to teach me, an awareness to bring, a fear to release. Thank you, my darling. I'm tuned into your intelligence. Your ascended knowledge flows through me and lifts me to a higher plane. I am ready and I accept all you have to offer. We're 8 weeks away from your ETA, and I feel my body preparing, becoming watery and flowy for my tiny sea creature to arrive. She was born under the sign of Cancer, so little crabby. Pain becomes pleasure, fear becomes power, and discord becomes resonance. Aching pain in my hips inspires me out of bed, and I begin to move to seek comfort, but nothing helps. I doze again until the pain worsens. Anxious dreams and panic of an early birth mobilize me yet again. I decide on a bath. With my first child, I was in the bath every single day, but Dulcie didn't guide me to soak as much as Wallace. Today was different, and a bath was exactly what Dulcie wanted. I watched Birth as We Know It and fell deeply into this experience of ease and grace as the way Dulcie wished to debut her in this world. Some of my favorite quotes from the movie are, Natural birth is a sacred act of initiation, a rite of passage for all involved. Within the sacred act of birth lies the pathway of pure potentiality of life. Birth is about meaningfully and purposefully creating your own reality. Water birth means that she herself becomes watery, resilient, fluent in her body's language, and that she melts down all the frozen structures of her emotional landscape and lets her river flow effortlessly. By the time of birth, a woman needs to let go of anything and everything that has been holding her back. She just needs to show up for herself and for her baby. She needs to activate her body's innate intelligence, clear out her emotional haze, and be in integrity with herself. When love, not fear, is an integral part of the birthing field, a woman has access to the power of creation that is working through her. The more power in her field, the less force she will need to use, because love is a highly coherent state. Spiraling is the single most important thing about childbirth. It reflects the primal energy flow of our universe. Seashells, galaxies, our DNA strands all obey the law of spiraling. It propels our planet to move. In childbirth, the conscious surrender to that vortex of energy brings an experience of profound grace. Choosing to move through creates pleasure. In a birth where the full power of nature is honored, a laboring woman and her man experience it as the highest moment of truth and deepest intimacy. They are doing it together. During natural birth, the body is flooded with oxytocin, which will wash away the pain. There is pain, yes, but it's the kind of pain that doesn't hurt. The birth itself is the final step in a long process of self-discovery. It takes a lot of courage and sincere willingness. After all that preparation, the birth itself unfolds in all its magnificence. With our conscious intention and effort, we have the opportunity to create a masterpiece of our life. We can regain our authentic power and clear the pain of our ancestors from our system. We can improve the quality of our lives by moving beyond the imprint of fear and suffering. And we have the capacity to experience the transformative power of birth and return to the magical feeling of being fully engaged in life and in the process of creating each day in harmony as we choose to remember who we are. When I do TikToks about it, I say, as we choose to remember who the fuck we are.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, I got like wild goosebumps. Thank you so much.
Isn't that powerful? So just wrapping up those thoughts that I was having, cultivating mental fortitude is the most important preparation for giving birth. Birth is a portal, a process of deep imprinting on every possible level of awareness, physical, chemical, electrical, physiologically, spiritual, hormonal, energetic. Moving through our mother's body is designed to be the peak experience of connection and love and bliss that is possible for mother and babies. And mothers are also reborn through this ecstatic experience, which binds us to our babies. Woo. So that was the mindset that I was in a couple months out from giving birth.
Beautiful.
It was powerful.
Thank you for that snapshot. Yeah.
Yeah. So then 7 weeks out, my husband and I had a wonderful discussion about how I wanted the option to stay home and give birth together, how I wanted the chance to experience free birth and truly embrace the field of transcendence that is my birthright. And he seemed to love my perspective. And he said that he trusts me and that he would support me in this decision. And we went into a deep conversation about the world we live in and how we will prepare our children and how we will conduct ourselves in partnership and how we will create our own experience and celebrate what this life has to offer. And I wrote, I love that being pregnant invites such deep and important conversations. It makes me want to get pregnant again.
Had you guys talked about free birth at all prior to like 7 weeks before giving birth? Or was that something you were thinking about, or was that?
I wanted to give birth at home with my first.
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. Just something in me said, you've got this. Like, you want to be in a dark space. If I had a cave, I would have been in it. I labored on my own with my son. And then I was like, well, I guess I got to wake him up and I guess we have to go to the hospital because that's what he really wanted. But that made it last longer. Like I was like ready to pop a baby out maybe within 40 minutes of the time that I woke him up. And then of course, the driving there and all that stuff made it take longer, but we were only in the hospital an hour. So with my son. So yeah, I always knew I wanted to do free birth. And it took me that long to convince him that it was a fantastic idea.
Yeah, because it's a worldview shift and a modification, and for some people it's a negotiation about safety and risk, and you've got different risk tolerances or different worldviews around what is safe and what is not. It can really land differently for different
and
people.
when I decided to involve my mother, the negotiations began again.
Indeed. Yeah.
So, and that was the only other person that I told was my mother. And I didn't tell anybody else that was my plan because I was like, I don't want to have this conversation. It has nothing to do with your perspective. It has everything to do with what my body's wisdom is telling me.
Yeah.
And I wanted that experience of deeply trusting my body's wisdom, proving that I did actually okay, I trust myself, but also I'm going to go and let somebody else tell me what to do. Like, no, I wanted to be like, this is how much I trust my body's wisdom, is that I'm going to do it. So let's see, this is the next entry, 4 weeks out, on the fence regarding whether I tell my parents about the unassisted childbirth decision. I'm certain I want to display a full trust in myself and my husband. I want to create an environment that allows me to face fear and not give away any responsibility. I wish to meet the most powerful version of myself. So I ended up telling my mom that I want a free birth and heard exactly what I expected. And then I had the strangest dream that night. Arms reaching out from the dashboard of a car, grabbing at me, pushing the pedals and taking the wheel. At first, my inclination was to fight and even bite the arms. But then I realized I'm just going to get out of this vehicle. What a relief. I didn't want the symbol of industrialization. I didn't want to be inside the symbol of industrialization at all. Forget about the anonymous arms and hands trying to control me. At first, it was scary, but now I see it as the perfect dream, clarifying my commitment to a family birth, a free birth. All right, this is
what a wild dream too.
Oh, it was.
It's like
I
so
remember,
potent. You're like, oof.
Yeah, like being so freaked out by it, like waking up, just like, what the fuck was that, But then processing it and seeing how perfect it was for me to say, I'm just gonna get out of this vehicle. I'm not fighting anybody. Yeah. And that's what it felt like with the first birth with my son, is that I'm literally in there. I'm in like a full hypnotic state, totally relaxed. And they're like, could you scream a little more, ma'am? We don't really understand where you are in this process and you won't let us check you, and it's like, you're interrupting me, like, I don't want to hear from you. I'm just here to make these people comfortable and bring my baby. So it was just such an interruption to be in a hospital. It's like giving birth in a grocery store, like
with about as much care sometimes.
Yeah, it was so weird and invasive. So okay, so now back to some journaling. This was musings from the book Active Birth. Birth, the void, the expanse, the opening of your womb is a time when you were transformed. By giving birth to new ideas or new ways of being, you become someone new. This openness brings a change in consciousness, a portal to another world. This opening is a deeply emotional experience that involves a regression to your most basic feelings. Time will collapse and everything you've ever been through will become part of the present. By sinking deeply into your inner feelings, you can better respond instinctively to the urges and messages of your body. And a direct quote from the book. In a way, you need to lose control to surrender to and trust the birth process, which takes place without your conscious control. You need to let go of your mind, of everything that you know, and just let it happen. This is a time to turn inwards, to abandon oneself to the unknown, to not think ahead of what is to come, to take it moment by moment and let the natural involuntary rhythms of your body take over, relax, and float. I like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved to the phase of about, let's see, 10 days out when I began to create my birth ritual. So I actually made a ceremony out of the experience. What we ended up doing was I decided to give birth at my mom's house. That was my compromise that made her feel comfortable because she's actually closer to the hospital than I am. So that negotiating that took place, Mom, I want you there. This is what I'm doing. And she said, okay, let's just do it at my house then, which actually ended up being wonderful because she has this huge cavernous bathroom that was my playground. And so I had a beautiful place to shower, a tub if I wanted, a nice toilet room nearby if I needed to close the door and feel like I had more privacy, and a big space that we could put out like a kiddie pool. So, containment zone, basically. All kinds of things, candles and incense and signs of my my mantras, that she actually prepared for me. So the ceremony that I created, I had, I wanted to light incense. I lit one singular candle. I got into the shower and I scrubbed my body with salt, and then I got out and put oil all over myself and just made it like, honestly, it was like foreplay. I was just worshiping myself and setting this stage. I didn't even think about it that way in the moment, but like in hindsight, that's what it would have looked like, is me like caressing myself and like praising myself for getting to this moment, and just like, just fully basking in how awesome I am as a person.
Oh my gosh.
And
What a beautiful contrast, because like so many times at the end of pregnancy it's like, oh, like tired, or like over being pregnant, or like fearful of birth, and here you are being like, my body is a goddess, this is fabulous, I'm so ready. Right? Like,
I
yeah.
love my pregnant body. There's something so liberating about just having a big old gut. And
Yes,
just like
absolutely.
rubbing it and just feeling so feminine and soft, and I love being pregnant. I would have 80 babies if that was physically possible. But my ritual was also a process to assist me in becoming a magnet for my soul's desires. So not even just for the birth, but I saw it as transcendent magic in co-creation with the universe. Like, I'm feeling the power swirling, and why not use that to call out to the world what I desire in this life, what this soul is telling me I am here to do. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
So that was just preparing. I'll wait to read the actual ceremony that I prepared. But let's see, where did I want to go next? So that was designing the sanctuary, just getting ready for that moment. And also through that, I was designing my postpartum sanctuary as well. I wanted to have the vision of what it could be and then what it would be afterwards as well, because I think that's always nice to have something to look forward to. So, I really got pretty detailed here, and what I wanted to make sure I had in my space after I gave birth. So, I'm oh goodness, now we can't find where my list was. But down to the types of teas that I wanted, and the type of honey that I wanted, and just setting everything up so that I had so much to look forward to. And of course that page will not reveal itself to me right now, so I'm just going to let it go. So let's see, where did I want to go? The active birth entry. This is kind of an interesting. I wanted a home birth because I didn't want to fight. And here I am fighting with my husband, with my mom, and with myself. I wanted a home birth because I wanted to feel deeply connected with my personal power, my intuition, my husband, my daughter. But my husband feels distant and unavailable, and every sensation makes me feel panicked and unprepared. I think it's healthy to keep in mind that I sounded like I had my shit together, but I'm still human.
Yeah, rolling with it though, right? It's like we've got joy, we've got sorrow, and like birth holds it all.
Yeah, I mean, I had a real breakthrough. I believe it was the day before the birth took place. The breakthrough is, I wrote here, I experienced conditioning that led me to suppress who I am. What once comforted me now makes me feel sick and dull. Distractions that limit my pure potentiality. And then the breakthrough came forth in another deeply healing dream. And that one, some dreams are hard to describe, but basically what I realized in that dream was that everyone craves tenderness from me. Everyone in my life craves my tender side. I wrote, I have oceans and mountains of tenderness to give. I let go and I let it flow. Because I do have a tendency to be I mean, I have a title of Blue Tiger Priestess because I have a lot of tiger energy in me. And I like to envision my inner tiger as like lounging. I like to see her as just maybe even on her belly, stretched out like just a big ass blue tiger. Just like, I don't even have to look scary. If I roll over quickly, I'm going to scare the shit out of you. So I just really need to express my tenderness. And that's actually even more powerful than my ferocity. Whew.
Indeed,
So,
indeed.
yeah.
And
All right.
and poised for whatever's needed, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the day that I went into labor, I actually spent the morning with friends and was journaling the whole time. I couldn't even sit down. Like, I'm hanging out with my friends and they're all sitting and I'm literally standing. Like, that's probably a sign of what's coming. I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I can't sit. There's something going on that I cannot sit down. And so we're, relaxing and just having a good time. And it was such a nice, nourishing morning with people that I loved. And then I went home and took a nap with my son and woke up to a gush, which was the opposite of what happened with my son. The water didn't break until moments before he came out. And so I was greeted with my water breaking as I woke up from this nap. And my husband was off fishing. And so I had to call him and say, honey, nothing's happening, but my water broke. And of course, the poor man on the other end is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I could just imagine him like throwing things everywhere, freaking out and racing home. And I'm like, nothing's happened. No labor pain, nothing really. And so it was actually such a gift because we did have to drive an hour to my mom's house. And so my daughter's like, let me just give you plenty of notice. So I'm, just continuing to gush as I walk around the house, trying to contain as much of the water as possible, and preparing and packing the car and feeding my son and getting organized and just taking my time. And we made it to my mom's house like around, I think it was like 8 or so that night. So 4 hours passed, and I'm just, I'm like, let's just go. Like, I'm not feeling anything yet, but like, let's go ahead and go. And so we got there around 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock comes and I decide I'm going to go ahead and do my ritual. I'm feeling things, nothing, nothing. I could still take a nap. I did. But here's the ritual that I read when I bathed myself and oiled myself and lit the incense and my candle. I cleanse myself of fear, uncertainty, loneliness, pain, anger, and powerlessness. I release these emotions and any emotions I'm not aware of in order to allow my higher self to be revealed. I'm grateful to all the energies present to assist me. I walk the path of pure potentiality, fully engaged in life, free of distractions and with integrity as I meaningfully and purposefully create each day in harmony. Fluent in my body's language, I use the coherence of love, dissolving forceful effort as I embrace my role as a resilient, powerful woman, letting go of who I am not and choosing to remember who I am. I welcome wealth, health, amazing luck, and opportunities to expand. I create space where process and evolution unfold for those who take responsibility for their reality. In this new realm, we create connections for the benefit of all. And that was my intention. That was my intention as I let go. I took a nap after that. And I felt surges throughout the nap, but it wasn't, so much that it moved me to get up. But at about 10:30 that night, I was moved to get out of bed. So that's when it all began. Now, the entry of me talking about the birth is actually 2 weeks after it happened. So I'm proud of that in a way, because that's how dropped in I was to being with my baby, that I really did focus. And so I wrote, it's been almost 2 weeks since I gave birth to Dulcie, and it has flown by. Clearly, I've been very present with my family. And even though I wanted to write about Dulcie's birth, it's taken me this long. I'm working to gently close the birth field, but I still feel the power of creation within me. I believe I'll continue to feel this power for the rest of my life. I'm grateful. I'm also so grateful I was able to record portions of my labor. It's fascinating to witness the atmosphere, my state of mind, and my actions after the fact. The expansions started to get really intense at 10:30. Looking back a couple of pages, I see it was 9:05 when I took my cleansing shower. Oh, I should do it again tonight to close the energy. I did a shower again. After my shower, I air dried and laid down on the bed to rest. I think I was able to catnap for about an hour. And while I did have some surges, I felt I could rest through it. After I woke at 10:30, there was very little rest until she was born. I tried to use my yoga ball again, but it was uncomfortable to be folded over. The discomfort was all inside, and I think in my cervix specifically. So I found myself on the toilet a lot with my feet up on a stool and leaning back with my back arched like that. This gave my tailbone lots of room to move, and it was convenient since I pooped a lot.
Poop is part of birth.
It was such it was a small part of my first birth. It was a huge part of my second birth. I just pooped the entire time. So in between surges, I actually laid down on the little foam mattress on the floor in the bathroom and rested. And it's amazing that that's possible, but your perspective on what's possible shifts during childbirth. Some of my spontaneous mantras, or my main spontaneous mantra was, "This is easy, this is power." And I found vocal toning came very naturally. I made all kinds of sounds, and that was helpful for managing the feelings, but I found that the pain completely disappeared when I masturbated. My clit was so engorged, and the softest touch sent me into waves of orgasms. I was fascinated to observe myself find pleasure when facing pain. Thank you, God, for that possibility. The moment transition began, I had to go to the bathroom again. Thank goodness I was not in the tub. That would have been disgusting. Keeping it real. I always wondered why I was not drawn to a water birth, and it sounds like something that I would want, but it never seemed attractive to me, and I guess my daughter knew that. I remember in the moment still not being sure about what stage I was in, but at the moment on the potty, I just felt the tiniest sting or a pinch and then tremendous rectal pressure. I swear it felt like I was going to poop my baby. Yikes, but that's what I felt. Mom insisted that I get up, and she seemed to know that Dulcie was in the birth canal. I believe the pinch was her head passing through my cervix. I remember Mom and Ben helping me to stand, and I really had trouble walking because I basically had a bowling ball in my pelvis. Amazing. Okay, let's see. I'm just jumping around. Okay, Mom and Ben got me into the birthing area, and it immediately felt right to be on my hands and knees again. That's how I gave birth to my son. My mom offered me the yellow yoga ball to lean on, but I wanted it out of the way. Dulcie was on the move, but I was able to keep in mind that if she could slow down, my tissues would expand. I said out loud, "Slow, baby girl, slow." Then there were moments of calm, and I felt amazing. The birth itself didn't hurt at all. It felt like her head was out before Ben and Mom could see her. So I reached to feel where she was, and I touched her head before she crowned. It felt like the crowning happened quickly, and that's when my mom started filming. The pushes were completely out of my control, and I think I pushed less than 4 times. After she crowned, it was one final push, and the most beautiful vernix slathered baby spiraled into this world. She was wearing a Crisco spacesuit. Her little head was so round, and she cried perfectly. No gargling, nothing to suction. The umbilical cord wasn't long, so we were careful in how I got turned over and situated. And I will never forget the look on my husband's face when he handed his daughter to me. Euphoric elation, bliss, relief, surprise, and love. We got settled, and I realized that my tailbone didn't hurt at all. I actually had a tailbone injury earlier in my life, so that's kind of a big deal. Mom covered us up in warm towels from the dryer, and we got a cap on Dulcie. I love that pics were captured. She was immediately beautiful, and her angel kiss over her third eye looked like a heart or angel wings. How profound. Before the birth, I stumbled across a post about home birth, and I copied what was written. And here she is, back on Earth, after drifting between galaxies she never knew to exist. Alone again in her body, but with her new baby that she so powerfully journeyed to the stars to collect. And that's my story.
Thank you. Can see from the faces here, I'm not the only one with tears in my eyes, and just feel such immense gratitude
Me too.
for your sharing of your experience. Yeah.
So happy to answer logistical questions if you'd like to know about the placenta and such, but for me it was so spiritual, and so that's really the tone of my story.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to open it up for questions. Maybe before we do that, if somebody would like to just frame like a moment of listening to Catherine, something that really stood out for you, or something that you really felt in your body in listening to her story. Hmm. I know for me, it feels there's just like this warmth in my heart. And it's like, oh, like I can feel the love, I can feel the surrender, can feel the like the sacredness of it in such a potent way, in how you honored yourself and how you worked with your body in that, and to like hear the story, and there isn't, you know, sometimes we remember the parts that go a little weird, or the parts that don't go quite the way that we want, and I go like, you didn't have that, or didn't come through in the storytelling, right? It's just this beautiful acceptance of what was there.
I
Yeah.
could try to show the video. I do have it on my phone. I don't know if I can share my screen on my phone, if that would work. I don't know if you guys have an interest in that, or at least seeing the baby. I could try to do that. Interest? Yeah. It's a short video.
You can hold it. I don't know if you're on the laptop, you can hold it up to your screen.
No.
Or
Can you give me share status? I'm trying to click share.
Yeah.
We don't have internet at my house right now, so I'm doing it from my phone. But I do have the video on my phone, so
yeah, it should work. You should be able to share
photos. see. Let me make this easier.
Go. You should have settings to do that now.
Okay. Share
Well, while
screen.
Catherine's figuring that out, does anybody else want to offer feedback or words or feelings from their own experiences?
I'll share a couple moments. Yeah, just how, like, the clarity you had about how you wanted to birth, you know, like that really stood out to me. You said this sentence of like, yeah, I want to do it alone. I want to do it undisturbed. I don't want anything just in case or someone there. So that just really stood out to me, like the clarity, the profound clarity that you had. And then the other moment that I just loved was, yeah, the ritual, the like creating the ritual and adore, you know, like just, yeah, what were you doing? You were doing a scrub on your body, like just loving up on your end of pregnancy body. So those really, really stood out to me. Beautiful moment.
Thank you. Yeah, someone was like, how do you learn to trust your body's wisdom in that moment? And for me, with my daughter, like the moment I knew I was pregnant, she started talking to me. And it was like I was having a conversation with her. So it wasn't even so much about trusting myself, like voices in my head. I was like, oh, that's the baby. Like she is straight up talking to me, and she affected things. Like my computer wouldn't work a lot of times. I'd have a really big crystal on my desk to like, you know, even at the doctor's office, like I was always having to change rooms every time I went. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry, this thing just shut down again. Like, let's go to this next room. Oh crap, it happened again. Got to go to the next room. And it was like, she just fucked with technology constantly. So I just felt her presence so strongly. So it was really cool to, you know, have her be such a influence in my life, you know, just dramatically, you know. And so to trust what she wanted felt really easy. To hear her felt really easy.
Was that different with your first? Did you have a similar like conversational connection, or was it different?
I had more dreams about him. So I didn't feel like it was just a conversation with him, but I dreamt that it was a boy and his name was Wallace, and my grandfather came to me and told me so. I had more of a strong presence of my great grandmother, who I actually never met. She was having a conversation with me. And I had a really profound experience where I was just driving in the foothills of North Carolina once, and I drove past this mountain, and I had to stop and park and get out and go and look at this mountain. And it was like my grandmother was saying to me, I am this mountain. And this is the presence that will assist you when you give birth to your son. And so while I channeled more ocean, flowy energy with my daughter, I channeled more mountain energy with my son. So it was a very different experience. It was more about like climbing a mountain, having a view, kind of expansive power. So it was very interesting, very different. Okay, I'll show you the birth. Here we go. Can everybody hear and see that? Can't. Shoot. Darn. So that's not screen. Start. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah?
Keep coming.
Got a chin. Oh my gosh. Hey there, sweetie. Just say what okay. Oh my gosh.
She's
And there's my little angel.
Oh, so sweet. She does have a really round, like whole round face. So
She's
sweet.
a little tiny bowling ball.
Hmm.
It was actually really easy to push her out. So that was
Yeah.
I have a longer clip of the whole thing, but unfortunately the camera was turned the wrong way, so you're only seeing the wall, but you're hearing everything. Oh, so funny how that goes. But I did get other clips of me like, okay, I want to capture this expansion. I didn't call them contractions. I capture this expansion. That was using particular language was very important to me. I love words, and so that was I found to be a very strong, my mantras, the way that I spoke about what I was experiencing, all of that played a huge role in even with my son. I was very careful about that. I'm like, don't you dare say contraction around me. This is
Yeah.
all expansion, baby. Or surges. I like surges too. Oh, but yeah,
There's no
so that
denying the
was
waves.
no kidding, no kidding. So yeah, I mean, when she was coming out in the longer video, you hear me go, "This feels good." So it
Mm.
actually, I could not believe how like the clit for me was just an off button, and it's just like the very lightest touch, because it was so engorged that you like there's no rubbing nothing, like you just and I was sent into orgasm instead of, feeling any pain at all through, the active birth after 10:30 that night up until 11:59. It was just, okay, like I have an off switch. That's what that is. And I've been recently doing a lot more research about the clitoris, and I like the engorgement that I felt, like of course that's way more than you feel when you're, turned on from sex. Like it was, like triple of what any engorgement I might have felt ever in sex. And I recently read that that is a mechanism of creating a cushion for the baby's head. I had no idea that the clit engorges to create a cushion. And how beautiful is that?
Indeed. Indeed. It's
Mhm.
a like win-win situation.
No kidding. It is, and I believe it is our birthright. We are meant to experience things like and here's a cat, and orgasmic birth, and even flow state. Like I think when I teach my course, I'm going to talk a bit about flow state and how it's our birthright to operate in flow, and that's we're designed to do it, and there's a
Hmm.
mechanism for it. There's a way to create flow state, and that is, the way that we should be passing our time is, dropping into flow on a regular basis so that we experience ease and simplicity and clarity and internal guidance. And I believe the same is for birth. I think orgasm is a flow state. There's a phase in flow state where you go through the struggle, and we're meant to feel orgasm and birth. I have a hard time believing that like all of the nerves that contribute to orgasm, like that's just for sex. It has a lot more to do with perpetuating our species. Perhaps orgasm is even more for the birth process than it is just for the process of getting pregnant.
Indeed. Indeed. I had similar ponderances in that experience of preparing for birth, and uh, I find it really fascinating because I mean your labor was obviously like quite condensed from your water breaking to your baby arriving. Um, I found in my labor that that sense of like the clitoris being like an off switch for the sensations, just being like, wow, that like surge that seemed unmanageable is now just like gone. I was able to do that in like probably early labor, but later I just forgot. Do you have any ideas around like I just forgot, like it didn't occur to me. It wasn't part of my like default coping network or whatever. Would you say that you had like a strong self-pleasure practice before you went into, or like did you cultivate that, or would you say that that was just part of how you were in it and how you were moving with it?
Um, I have a unique self-pleasure practice. I often wake myself up masturbating.
Deeply integrated into your deep subconscious is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, like I just like, whoa, I'm awake and whoa, that's happening. Like I do it without thinking. And actually that is probably fair to say that's my primary masturbation state. I don't really, I mean, I guess I have, but I would say more often than not it happens. So yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that before, but I suppose I do have somewhat of a default mode. When I'm checked out, I will masturbate.
Thank you for the vulnerability in sharing that. And I saw in the chat there, you're not the only one. So that's really fascinating as well, because it's new story for me. I go like, yeah, I can totally see how that says like the deep unconscious, subconscious, sleepy parts of your brain understand that like your default existence is one of pleasure and takes action with or without your volition to encourage you in that. And it's like, gosh, it's beautiful. It's like something to strive towards, even if even if we're not in that by default. So like work towards that level of integration for sure. Yeah, I'm seeing in the comments from JC that masturbating and orgasm takes away menstrual cramps. Is like, yeah, it gives a different pathway, right? They often say the fight and flight and the rest and digest, or the feed and breed, they can't be active at the same time. And so shifting from one to the other, yeah, really potent.
Yeah, I have actually toyed with in the past 9 months or so, just like when I do feel challenged, like if I'm just in a moment when I am unhappy or, dissatisfied, or like things aren't going my way, that like, well, I'm gonna relax for a second. And I'm gonna see if I can bring more pleasure to this moment, even if it is, just touching myself to like see, can I just soften and bring my whatever is challenging me, so that I don't armor up and bring out Chris, but that I get more into that lazy pussy status.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to cultivate that.
And being in that power, like being in connection with our pleasure state, is such a powerful place. Like from that place, when we ask for things, when we tell people to do things, we're just more potent. And I don't know very many men who can actually resist a woman in her pleasure specifically asking for what she wants. It's like they're kind of few and far between. Yeah, I want to open it up. Does anybody have specific questions for Catherine before we wrap up here today? We'll aim to wrap up at like 5 after the hour, I think.
I think in closing, it's interesting to note that 7 days after my daughter was born, my grandmother died. And my mother experienced all of that in 1 week: the birth of her granddaughter and the death of her mother. And what a powerful experience that is. I wasn't by my grandmother's side when it happened, COVID restrictions and that type of thing. And I had a newborn baby, and, she was in a nursing home. But even just to be present with my grandmother, knowing that it was happening right now, literally 7 days and 6 hours after the birth of my daughter, was so profound. And I think it's interesting to just note that as part of how death is part of birth. and how, you know, the risk of having a free birth and being on my own, you know, like I was tuned in to the fact of my own, you know, mortality through that experience, and and comfortable with it. I was willing to go there in order to trust my body's wisdom. And I felt my grandmother's presence with me. I actually renamed my daughter even. So she was Dulcie Maria, and we ended up adding my grandmother's full name. So it's Dulcie Catherine Maria, is her full name now. So and to honor my grandmother, because we submitted the birth certificate whenever we wanted. So I was able to make that change before we mailed it in or submitted it. But it was really added to just another layer of depth.
So beautiful. I have one more question. I'd love to hear about the placenta from your lens of like sacred ceremony and spirituality. And I'm sure that was a continuation of that for you. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have in my book queue, what is it? The Forgotten Chakra, the placenta. So I'm dying to read that book. I can't wait to add that to my, you know, another layer to my experience. But for me, we took our time with the placenta. I was very cozy after my daughter was born, and so we just snuggled up, and I took a nap for 3 hours. So it was, you know, 11:59 she came out, and we were hanging out, having a good time for about 45 minutes after that. And then I was like, you know what, guys, like, let's not worry about the placenta. Let's just everybody go take naps, you know, like let's chill out. And I think it was so like around, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, I was like, all right, I guess I probably should stand up, like let's see what's going on with this thing. And my mom was starting to panic, and she's like, what is this? And I'm like, shut up, like let's let her do her thing. And so I did. I stood up, and you know, it'd been such a long time that we did decide to go ahead and clamp and cut. And so my husband then took the baby. It was the first time I let her out of my arms, and I got squat, and out it came. And I had a nice little dish of videos about how to inspect a placenta, and to be honest, that was disgusting. It was not beautiful. It is beautiful in its own way, but it is not beautiful. But yeah, we inspected it, and I guess I didn't have any education about what to do with it, and I probably would encapsulate it if I had the, you know, maybe my next child. I would love to have another one, so if I have that opportunity, I probably would. But we ended up just disposing of it, so not super glamorous there. Did that answer your question or anything else?
Yeah, I love that you just took the time, like you just didn't worry about it and had a nap. That's so beautiful. So great.
Yeah, it was like I like, let's really delay this. Like I'm not worried about a thing. It was actually a very short cord, so I had to kind of get her situated and get comfortable because I didn't have a lot of room to work with. But yeah, it was actually super easy for it to come out, and then not much bleeding. And I tell you what, one of the differences between giving birth at home, and maybe she was smaller too, her head circumference was a little smaller than my son, but she did not disrupt my sacrum, and so I had very little discomfort. And the next day I took the stairs 2 at a time, 12 hours after birth. And I was like, what did I just do? Like, that was weird. You know, with my son, I think they pulled him out, you know, like that was one of the interventions that I was very disappointed in, is they're like, oh, his heart rate, blah, 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 pull him out, you know, and they tore me, and it hurt. And so for a week or 2 afterwards, when I would go for a walk, because I'm a pretty active person, I wanted to walk. I felt called to walk. It felt like the bottom was going to drop out, you know, like that's not a good feeling. I need to get home and lay down. I had none of that with my daughter. I absolutely, no tearing, not a nick, nothing. and it felt like it snapped the fuck back. Like it was, I felt really normal the next day. I mean, besides having just given birth, but like as normal as I guess you possibly can feel. Yeah, like I surprised myself for sure the next day. It was incredible.
Beautiful.
Thank you
And
guys
how
for
was,
allowing me to share.
yeah, how was that, like sort of that the last trimester, like the fourth trimester, and your experience of integrating back into your family because you've got an older child and rest and
Yeah.
caring for yourself, being cared for in that postpartum? How was that?
Oh, it was lovely, because I knew exactly what I wanted again, like I could really ask for what I wanted. And my son was very prepared. So it was beautiful that, there was really no separation. He woke up the next morning and there was a baby there. And, so he climbed into bed with us. And I have just the cutest pictures of them touching and interacting and being so sweet together, and him almost poking her in the eye and stuff like that, of course. And even our dog was, so it was wonderful to just wake up all together in the same bed and no awkwardness and nobody waking you up in the middle of the night and checking on you and bugging you and telling you to do stuff and take this and do that. And it was really glorious and a lot of fun. So then we came home, and my husband actually got 3 months paternity leave. So that was a gift. Yeah, like we just we spent a lot of time together. He'd work on the house, and my son's like just his little mini me, running behind him holding all the screws and nails and rocks or whatever, and so it was really easy. Actually, we had a very good time together and just basked in the moment. And I run a company, and we have a team of 12, and so it's an incredible, like I like getting pregnant for the sake of my company, because everybody gets on a timeline that they've got to like do something by the due date. They have their own due date, like I'm checking out, so you guys better have this all figured out in time. And I find that there's that saying, babies bring abundance, and they bring just as much of abundance to my company as they do to me. And so it really, accelerates everything in a way that allowed me to decelerate. And so I could just, check in and casually listen in on meetings. And they're like, oh my gosh, are you so stressed with the baby? And I'm like, no, we're good. We're good. We co-sleep. Nursing, she nursed within less than 5 minutes of being born. So it took a little time with my son. They'd given me Pitocin too. So I kind of feel like I wish they hadn't done that. I told them not to, but after the fact, they said, oh, by the way, we gave you Pitocin. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. I specifically said not to do that. But with my daughter, obviously, we're all natural. And so she actually latched moments after she was born. And so I was still nursing my son. So we co-nursed, and that was great. So they're like giggling at each other and bonding with each other. And I'm trying to remember some bad stuff. It was good. It was really good. But
Well, I mean, the hormonal matrix, right, of having been through a labor process without fear, where the orgasmic energy is just like riding and holding you, and your body's like all the resources of your body are available for the pleasure and the beauty of the experience, as opposed to being split between like fear and pleasure, or fear and opening, expansion, right? So all
yeah.
of you's aligned with that. And that, talking about doing stairs 2 at a time, and just like the beauty of it, right? It's like that hormonal cascade is just gonna really whoop and flood and erase anything that was challenging. And I think that's a huge, that's part of why even people who have, births that we might from the outside judge as being like mismanaged or like overly cascaded or whatever, some of those people come out of it and they go, the birth was perfect. And you go like, huh, Okay, sure. That's your, like, that landed is perfect for you. But like when the hormones are there and then they're cascading in that way, so much can become perfect in that sensation and that experience for sure.
Yeah, I felt a lot of spaciousness in my life, and that was a gift for sure, to just feel, like I didn't need to ever look at what time it was. I love that. Like, to me, that is such a gift that I don't actually have to ever check the time, that no one is like, where are you and what are you doing right now? Like, that to me that's actual, that's a vacation, like to live in that way, and just to be tuned into my baby's rhythms, to feed her when she's hungry. Yeah, there were days that like I just didn't even put a shirt on because I was nursing so much, like I'm just a milkmaid today, but what a gift that is. Part of the component of my course is the priestess path, means that you fall in love with every moment, no matter what it is, that you are devoted to being in love with your life. And how do you do that? So I know that when I meet people, if I can meet the right people and get them into a space, then I can look them in the eyes and we can have this conversation about how to fall in love with every moment. And I hope that I can serve them well. That is my desire next, is to guide women to be audacious mothers and give birth like an audacious motherfucker, They're just like, I don't care what anybody else says birth is or is supposed to be, or how it should be. I'm going to go into my body and check in with what is possible for me, and then bring that into the world without control, with surrender, to co-create with this universe, to create something absolutely transcendent that deeply connects me to my baby and my husband, because he's important in this too. The experience that he had, that melding of that divine feminine and masculine, that was part of that moment. I mean, we were having a baby, but we were making love too, in a very different way. To feel so supported by him, and that he trusted me so deeply, was incredibly powerful for our relationship. And yes, I will keep everybody posted as that develops.
Yeah, Catherine's in the general wild birth chat, so if you want to reach out to her to connect around that or connect around something specific, you can do that there. And then when this goes live, or when you have more information for me, Catherine, I'll definitely make sure that gets connected.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for the beautiful birth story. May all the births in the world be so beautiful. May we return to like a time where the fear is stripped away and all women get to experience birth in such way. And also deep gratitude for all the deep karmic lessons and the occasional or frequent cosmic bitch slaps from the universe to help wake us up to how beautiful it can be and how we're turned away from that.
We need that contrast. It's important to have the contrast. It's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the bar higher on what the contrast of the joyful orgasmic end of birth can be like. I really, really appreciate it. And it's been an honor to be here with all of you today. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end.
How easily can you imagine that this experience is integrated already deeply into every cell of your being in such a way that you will begin to notice that you have already been operating from this new behavior for a while, and that it was simply a matter of noticing how much you've already been doing this. You may choose to feel that this moment is the moment that completely and utterly into your body. Or in the days and weeks ahead, getting curious about how fully and completely this experience has transformed your life, realizing that you are at complete choice to choose how you would like to integrate this information into every cell of your being.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Joygasmic Life podcast. And I am so grateful to have you here and be a part of it. If you haven't already, head over to joygasm.me to check out our Joygasmic Birth Blueprint ebook and course, which give you all of the information that you need to become a Joygasmic mama, whether you are postpartum or whether you're expecting your first baby. This course absolutely has tips and tricks for you that will help prepare you for birth, prepare you for the birth of your next child, and prepare you for peaceful and joygasmic mothering on the other side. So absolutely, the way that we do one thing is the way that we do everything. And so by utilizing and beginning to build a practice of joygasmic alchemy, you will absolutely become a better mother and hold space, as I am and as many, many women are, for the enlightenment of the planet. We do that first by working on ourselves and then offering that support and that enlightened nature within ourselves to our families. And then from there, it ripples out. So if you haven't already checked that out, go check that out now. Again, it's joygasm.me. We've also got courses on rescuing your relationship, Bulletproof Mom, how to be able to handle even the most intense toddler or special needs child later on in life, as well as a multitude of new courses that are coming out. We're absolutely grateful to get to have you as a part of that. And remember, anyone who participates in the funding of the podcast absolutely gets a membership access, which allows you to access the bonus features, the ends of some of our episodes, exercises from our guests, as well as featured free content from them. So super glad to have all of you who are a part of that already here. And thank you so much for being a part of the Joygasmic Life family. If I could leave you with only one tip for how to be an orgasmic, joygasmic mama in this world, the invite would be to really step into and embody the knowledge that you are actually here for a reason, and that reason is to be an enlightened being for your family. They chose you for a reason. They chose you on this consciousness journey for a reason. And you absolutely have the tools and skills to be able to do this. If you're struggling, please reach out. I am more than happy to help people rewire what's going on in their brain, create a new story, and create a more powerful experience so you can be the kind of mama for your kids that you really have dreamed of. You absolutely deserve it, and your children absolutely deserve it. I look forward to getting to know you more, and I look forward to co-creating through the membership content. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you on the next podcast.